Hi there, welcome to another episode of Ready Let's Go. This time I'm talking to Tara Long. Tara has had a lot of health issues in her life and she ended up needing a kidney transplant and her husband ended up being the person to give it to her. So yeah, it's a very interesting story and obviously, as you can imagine, quite sort of heartfelt. And yeah, it was quite hard to go through this one actually, but it was really interesting. But yeah, if you're ready, let's go. Just to let you know, there's a few like noises and stuff right at the start of the podcast, just the first few minutes. It's not in your house, it is in the recording. So yeah, just to let you know. So you grew up in Gainsborough, didn't you, Sarah?
Yeah, I grew up in Gainsborough. I've lived here all my life.
Yeah.
So's Ben. He's obviously he's my living donor.
Yeah.
Bonded for life, me and it.
Yeah. Ben's your husband then, yeah.
Yeah, Ben's my husband.
Did you meet at school then?
No, so me and Ben first ever met each other when we were 6. His older brother, Lee, was best friends with my uncle, Simeon. So we all used to like gather at my nan's house.
Really? So you kind of knew him through family a little bit as well, like. Yeah,
and then we never hung around as children or anything like that. So we didn't meet again until we was 12. And we was at a friend's party, and he saw me injecting insulin because of my type 1 diabetes.
Right.
And he made a bit of a remark which wasn't really nice, to be honest.
Really? Was that, what you doing, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Didn't understand it?
Yeah.
Did you feel bad straight away then when you found out, or was he kind of like...
No, he was a bit taken back, I think.
Yeah.
And because I think a few of them was watching me inject. And it was a bit of an unusual thing growing up. I didn't know hardly anybody else that was type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
And after that, we didn't really meet till we were 15, and then we did start hanging around together then, and we were really close friends.
Wow.
And I would say we became best friends, that we used to go out and he would walk me home. And
was it romantic at that time then, or was it just like friends?
It literally was just friends, because Ben's mum, Jackie, used to work with my dad, so it's like our families all knew each other.
Yeah.
But me and Ben weren't close, not until that point.
That's nice.
And then it did turn romantic. I think it just opened my eyes that like there was someone that actually did care for me. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think Ben will always say that he knew maybe we would have complications with regards to me being type 1 diabetic. We've been together for 17 years this year.
Yeah. Wow.
And been married for 9 in April, so.
That's lovely. That's amazing. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? So, how long have you known you're diabetic for? Is that like quite a really young age that you found out?
So when I was 2.
You're 2?
When I was 2. So it was 1993 in the February I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
My birthday's not till the June, so I was still 2 years old.
Yeah.
I was really poorly, like wanting to drink all the time, which is a sign of diabetes.
Really?
Needing to go for a wee all the time.
Yeah.
Being thirsty all the time, my mum said, was one of the main things. And then I become really lethargic. And the doctors at the time said that I had flu, which they do think I had a bit of a virus. And my auntie actually came round to our house and said to my mum, because my mum and dad was really young at the time, they would have been probably early 20s, probably about 23 or 4, I think they were. So they was young themselves. So my auntie said, I think you need to get her to Lincoln County, there's something not right.
Not right,
Yeah. And
hard to tell with a kid though, isn't it? A young kid, because like there could be all sorts, couldn't it? Like, so you need someone to look at it properly.
Yeah, so when they took me to Lincoln, they couldn't get a cannula in my veins in my arms, so they actually put it through my heel in my foot. I've still got the scar now. It's
Really?
crazy from all that time.
Because a cannula is like a thicker needle, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they did a cannula in my foot, and they said she's type 1 diabetic, and my mum and dad didn't understand at all
what that was, sort of thing. And
it wasn't a known. It wasn't a known illness back then.
Wasn't very well understood.
Yeah, in the 90s. I didn't know any other children that were diabetic, so it was really hard for me growing up. But when I was diagnosed, when I got to the age of probably being 3 or 4, I actually got a certificate. I think I was 3. I got a certificate for being one of the youngest children in the UK to self-inject.
Yeah.
My mum and dad wanted me to learn quick on how I needed to look after myself.
Yeah, okay.
I actually learned how to inject on an orange to start with.
Wow. It's a good way. It's quite similar, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, and doctors, and I speak to doctors now if I ever end up in hospital and I tell them the story, they always say that's how they learn. Which is
an old school way of learning.
Yeah.
Well, you need to know how to do it, don't you? So how often would you have to be like injecting yourself?
So I inject approximately 4 times a day. So I always inject in the morning, and then every meal time in the day.
Really?
And then you have basically a different type of insulin at night time. So in the day you have like a fast acting insulin. So any foods or drink you're having, then obviously the insulin will react to them carbohydrates. At night time you have like a slow release bolus insulin. And that just keeps you like going throughout the night. So you're not having to get up and inject throughout the night basically.
Right, okay, yeah. That's mad. So it's just a massive like thing you were always thinking about. I suppose now though, you've been doing it for so long that it's kind of like it's just part of your routine completely.
Yeah. It's,
you don't even think about it.
Do you know, it's so strange because I can self-inject any time of the day, wherever, whatever. But when it comes to other people like taking blood, I have to look away. I can't look. It's so strange.
Wow. So you're all right with it with yourself, but I know what you mean. I'm a bit like that. Anything that on the TV or anything that's like a bit gory or anything, I'm just like, I can't look at it. But when someone's like, I remember the first time I had to get an injection, and like I was like, I'm scared. And as soon as she'd done it, I was like, don't really mind. Like it's not as bad as it looks as a thing. Like, but it's strange, isn't it? Yeah. So when did you when did it first come to light that you'd have to have a kidney transplant then?
So it must have been 2016. I started to swell really bad to start with in my feet, where I was having to take my shoes off at work.
Really?
And
swollen sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible. My shoes weren't even staying on my feet.
Wow.
And then it started to travel around my body, like my face, and then I ended up putting a lot of weight on. And I said to the doctor, "This isn't normal."
Just started to happen all of a sudden.
Yeah, and they sent me for some blood tests, and by that I was getting a call to go to Hull Royal. They said you need to see a kidney specialist there. So there is 5 stages of what they call kidney disease, chronic kidney disease.
Right.
And at that time so there's 1, 2, and then there's 2 stages in 3. There's 3A and 3B, and then 4 and 5. I'm not really sure why they did it like that, but I was already at stage 3B.
Yeah, so you were well on.
Your kidney function for a normal person is roughly what they call an EGFR. So sometimes when you get your bloods taken, they will check your kidney function to see how your kidneys filter. And anybody that's got a normal kidney function can run anywhere between probably 80s to 90 plus.
Yeah.
Mine had gone down at that point 31%.
Yeah, 31% effective, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So it
they
wasn't
weren't even
working.
filtering not even half of my kidneys are working.
Wow.
And then
So they found that out.
they found that out, and then I had to keep going like back to Scunthorpe because like their Hull is in relation to Scunthorpe, which is close for us.
Yeah.
So you can go there and see specialists, and then they said I don't know how they knew, but they showed us a graph to say by this point, like I think they said by September 2019, I would need a kidney.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they basically plotted it out then.
yeah, I did decline in my health really quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
From that point.
Yeah, it was ever so quick.
Do you think your mental, like knowing there was an issue, do you think that affected you at all, or has it?
To be fair, I was really strong all the way through it.
Yeah.
As soon as I knew, I think it's because of the diabetes.
Made it worse.
And yeah, I blame myself a lot for it. And the specialist said it's because of how long you've been diabetic for. You've got to realise it's the same with having a mobile phone. Eventually, that gives up.
Yeah.
And obviously, the diabetes does affect your heart, it affects your eyes, it affects your feet,
Everything.
yeah, your nervous system, your kidneys especially. So yeah, they knew that how quick I was going.
Where you had to get it done by and sort of things. Yeah. So once they knew that, did they? How far in the future was that then? They said you needed one within the next year.
When it started in 26, it must have been about 2016, but it wasn't until 2018 I actually physically saw a specialist,
right?
Kidney specialist, and then they showed me and Ben this graph and said, we'll try not to put you on dialysis.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that Ben wanted to donate at that point, so it would have been going on the deceased, what they call a kidney register, which is a deceased donor.
Yeah. Someone who can give you theirs.
Yeah.
That doesn't need it anymore.
The waiting list for deceased donor is 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
And to be fair, when they said about me having a kidney transplant, I didn't want anybody to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to go on that register, no matter what happened, sort of thing.
How do you mean that you didn't want to take it?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't want the kidney from Ben. I didn't want anybody.
Is that because, like you say, you felt like it was your fault, sort of thing?
It wasn't that. It was the fact that in case anything happened to them.
The other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I can deal with being ill, but knowing that somebody else might become poorly because of me.
Yeah.
And then we sat in with a consultant, and they were talking about the kidney transplant and living the donors, if I wanted to go on the register.
Yeah.
Obviously they make you aware that there is a 3 to 5 year waiting list, and not everybody makes
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ben just came out of it. I want to donate.
Yeah.
And I was in shock, to be fair, because I was more upset actually that I didn't want him to do it. And he said that he wanted to do it in the March 2019, that was. And he went through a year of testing that they thoroughly test that living donor.
Make sure they're going to be able to handle it, sort of thing.
Check their health. They have a nuclear. It's like what they do on the nuclear test is they put a dye that goes through their brain, the full nervous system from their brain to the toes, basically.
Yeah.
And then they go through like this special kind of scanner that will check to make sure that there isn't an underlying health condition with that person.
And I've got no blockages anywhere, it all works.
Yeah.
Wow,
because
that's crazy.
if they do find anything like that, they can't donate.
You have to be a healthy person.
Yeah, and Ben actually smoked. He was a smoker from us being children, basically.
Yeah.
To be told that he has to stop.
Yeah.
So that was a massive thing already, just getting
Get used to not smoking.
Yeah, well, just asking somebody to do that.
Yeah.
If they enjoy doing that, that's what they like to do. So yeah, we did.
That's crazy.
He stopped smoking.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
He did stop smoking.
So they just said to him, "That's all you got to do, and then you can do it," sort of thing.
Well, when he said in the March that he wanted to do it, and then he did nearly a full year of testing. It got to September, like their prediction.
Yeah.
I needed dialysis. My kidneys had gone down to 3%.
3%.
Yeah, I couldn't stay awake. I was falling asleep at any moment. I could actually fall asleep standing up, and
wow, like fall over basically as well.
Yeah, it's so when you say to your doctor, "I feel tired," to tell you that you're not tired. You're exhausted. Your body's exhausted. That's what they call it basically, and yeah, I just couldn't stay awake no matter what.
Yeah.
It was like
how long was it like that for then?
So it was like that for quite a while, because obviously your kidneys are decreasing in the way they function
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, you just felt so ill from it. But I actually worked until June 2019, and they sent me for to be prepped for dialysis just in case I needed dialysis.
Yeah.
So they check how thick your veins are, and a lot of people normally have it in the wrist, but as you can tell, my arms are quite thin.
I got quite thin arms as well.
My veins were like 0.1, I think it was millimetres.
Yeah.
And I had to have my fistula, that's what they're prepping you for, which is like a thin tube that when they do dialysis, hemodialysis this is, they put quite thick needles in, nothing like I've seen before. I'd say it was like a pipe.
Yeah, more of a pipe than a needle, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I had to have that put into like the top of my arm on the inner side, so I've got a scarf on my elbow to my armpit.
Really?
Yeah, and you can't pick, even now, I'm not allowed to pick anything heavy up in case there's any
rupture in it or anything.
Yeah, there is some clots in there. Because when I started dialysis treatment, which I've skipped on a bit, yeah, I ended up needing dialysis.
Yeah.
They were still prepping Ben for the donation, and I just become too unwell.
Yeah. Had to just do it there and then.
Yeah, so basically the dialysis, they took us around Hull Royal to look at their dialysis unit, and to be honest, that was the hardest thing for me and Ben. That was really, really hard, watching other people
going through it.
Yeah, going through it, but something that was going to be new to me, and you literally 3 times a week you're stuck on that machine. I could be on that machine for 8 hours a day. So they hook you up to a machine that filters your blood.
Yeah.
And then...
It's a long process then.
Yeah, and then you're also on a fluid restriction. So I was only allowed to drink 250 mils of fluid a day.
Wow.
And that's including custard, cereal...
Any fluid?
Yeah.
Not just water?
Yeah, you always think the fluid is just involved in drinking, but it's in food as well. Yeah, so that was really difficult, that was. Because
you feel really thirsty as well. Like.
Yeah, what they do is they put you on a fluid limit, because obviously your kidneys are storing your kidneys are storing all the fluid and not getting rid of that waste, which then obviously becomes toxin, and that's why you swell. They weigh you before every dialysis session, and then they know how much to filter your blood by to take off that fluid. That's what it does. Yeah, they knew if you had more than you should. Yeah, they did.
So they're basically like, they do the dialysis to be able to do the operation. Is that kind of what it is?
No, so you don't have to go on dialysis unless
you're at that level where
your kidneys are not filtering anything. Basically, I got to end of stage kidney failure. So it's chronic kidney disease and then it turns to failure. They were hoping that Ben's tests would all be complete before dialysis came in the picture, but it didn't.
No. So it was kind of early. Well, they hadn't finished what they were doing, so it was too early, sort of thing.
It was the September when they predicted I started the dialysis, so they knew by the September that I was going to be on my last legs, basically.
So how did you get through that bit then? Because obviously he did give you the kidney. So what happened to change that?
So in the September when I started the dialysis, at the end of September we got our phone call to say Ben had blood matched me. He hadn't fully tissue matched me, so what they call like the kidney match with the recipient and the donor is they like the 3 levels to be 0, 0, 0. That
like
means you're
match.
That is a complete match. That's a perfect match. Me and Ben was 1, 2, 2. And 2 is the highest number you can get. And they say 2 in that end figure as well is not very compatible.
Not perfect.
And Hull were our consultants, and Leeds St James is where we were having the transplant done. Leeds said not to do it, and Hull had always said do it, basically.
Wow.
And they left that decision down to really Ben, because he was donating, and it might not have worked.
Wow. That's mad. So they don't just tell you need to do this, they say it's your choice, it could not work, basically, so it's in your part. So the ball's in your part. That's mad. That's crazy.
Yeah, and Ben thought, well, what has he got to lose?
Yeah, because he'll be okay if the operation goes okay. It's fine, but it's the fact that it might not work for you that's the worry.
And he thought I could lose her anyway, and he might as well try. And it was funny because Ben I told Ben I didn't want him to do it. I didn't want him to do it in the first place. And he actually said, if I don't do it and I don't let him do it, then he would leave me. And I understand why. He said, you're not the only one going through it. You're not the one that watches you come home from dialysis or sitting in dialysis with you. And
it's just as bad, isn't it, for him in a lot of ways?
Because you can't urinate, you sit continuously because
it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to go somewhere, and you are sick continuously. That was hard.
Sounds awful.
So when we got the phone call to say Ben did match, blood match, wasn't perfect tissue match, but they recommended that Ben did it at Hull. That was the first time we cried together in 2 years. About the illness, because that's one rule that we had with each other, was that we laughed at least once that day, every day. It kept us, and it did. And even after dialysis sessions, I remember coming home, and don't get me wrong, I'd get on the sofa because it is harsh.
To stay, you want to lay down.
Like in your dialysis sessions, if they've taken too much fluid off you quickly, you lose your sight.
You can't function.
Cramping is unreal as well in your feet. And I just remember coming home from dialysis and having this craving for Indian takeaway, and I was eating like 3 a week. And then I'd save like my naan bread in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was horrendous. And
Oh,
I
good though.
kept thinking, is this normal? It can't be normal.
Yeah.
And then after, obviously, the transplant, so yeah, we agreed to go ahead with it,
Yeah.
even though we wasn't sure what was
100%.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got given a date of 5th of November 2019, and it got moved a couple of times. So basically, Ben had a different surgeon to me. So they have a surgeon that takes the kidney out, and then that's for Ben, and a surgeon that puts it in for me.
Wow.
Um,
Separate, different person doing it. Yeah.
yeah,
You have to hand it over to them.
yeah.
Oh my god.
And just listening to what they do. So you have a couple of meetings before you actually do the transplant. So your first initial meeting you have is to check I'm not actually paying Ben to give me his kidney.
Yeah. Not bribing
A
him
bit
or
like Squid
blackmail,
Games.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah. I've seen Squid Game. Yeah.
Not a lot of people would, but
Yeah. I reckon a lot of people know that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
on Squid Games where they're paying for them organs, people do it. Believe it or not.
Black market sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely black market, and
You've got to make sure you're not being.
so me and Ben got interrogated separately. We had to take pictures of our family, our wedding, literally our whole lives together. They had to see that it was a picture.
Yeah.
And Ben said when he went in, they asked him questions like, well, why don't you leave her? And they knew at that point I couldn't have children either. And they was like, why don't you leave her? You can have a different life. And they just literally wanted to make sure,
He'd thought about everything.
that he'd thought about everything, that we were telling the truth. There's no doubt about it. She knew straight away as soon as after I had my interview.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I sat in a chair outside waiting while he got interrogated and then me.
Taking turns on it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
The lady that interviewed us knew straight away that
It was
definite. Genuine.
Yeah.
It was genuine.
Wow.
But we had to wait to hear back to make sure that they knew that we wasn't lying about it.
So that's the first meeting then. And then the second one is the second one to do with like going through the procedure? Or?
Yeah.
So they tell you what's going to happen?
Yeah, so we had to go to Leeds for that. So we saw a surgeon there. I think it was actually Ben's surgeon we saw. And you're given coordinators. Hull, we had a living donor coordinator. That was more for Ben. And then at Leeds we had like a joint coordinator.
Yeah.
And when we went in to see the surgeon regarding the procedure, Ben had to sign a document, so you get an option.
Yeah.
So say like what they do is they'll take out the kidney from the donor, and if for some reason the recipient can't accept it or they back out, you just don't know. Either the donor gets a choice of having it back in, but it's not in its original place, because obviously your kidneys, like, if anyone knows, when you've had a water infection, you hold like your rib cage at the back, so that's where your kidneys are. But when you receive a kidney,
it's not in the normal position.
Yeah, it's like in the bottom of your stomach.
Really?
That's where it is. Yeah.
So it's in a bit of an odd place.
Yeah, and and they said Ben could either accept the kidney back, give it to somebody else that needed it. I think there was another option, but I think Ben decided that if I couldn't receive it, it would go to somebody else. I think he just thought that was the right thing to do.
Definitely, it's going to help someone, if not.
Yeah. So after all that, we got to the end of November. I was still on dialysis. And every time I went to dialysis, and they gave me a date of, like, to start with the 5th of November, and then it came and I was like, we can't do it because
keeps changing.
Yeah, it was really...
Lining the two things up in one go is probably...
Yeah, even though I didn't want Ben to do it,
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the dialysis anymore, and I kept saying,
Yeah.
I'm giving up, because once you start hemodialysis, you have to carry on doing it. You can't miss a session. It's not like missing
Your body's relying on it by that point.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
you are not allowed to miss a session at all.
Wow.
Yeah, and every time the date came,
Yeah.
it was heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Because as well as that, if my levels started to change, because you had bloods done like at the beginning of the week at hospital, and then they would check your sodium levels, your potassium, if there were certain levels that were high, or your blood pressure, you have high blood pressure through kidney failure anyway. My blood pressure was 200 over probably 120. It was
Wow.
I was having nosebleeds all the time, and
Oh my God.
I felt it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I used to say to Ben, like at night time, I'd say to him, don't shut the blinds, and he'd say why, and I'm like, I can't explain the feeling, but just don't. I feel like I'm really enclosed in, and
claustrophobic sort of feeling.
Yeah, and now
Wow.
I actually understand what it was. It was the fluid actually flooding me inside, and I can actually relate to it more now than I did when.
Because you got perspective of it, yeah. And like it's just discomfort basically.
Yeah,
like.
it was awful.
That's crazy, yeah. So when you two went for your operation, so eventually you got a date that it actually happened.
Well, we got a date that it was going to happen, which was Friday the 13th of December.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sounds about right. Yeah.
2019. It was like Ben had to go for a blood test done a day before it to make sure that everything was still okay.
Yeah.
Ben's platelet count, his blood platelet count, came back with a really high reading.
Yeah. Is that good or bad? Or?
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means like when you get a cut, like your platelets, that's like to do
What
with
heals,
how your blood how your blood heals it. If you ain't got your platelets there, you bleed to death.
Yeah.
And he had high blood platelet count.
Yeah.
And he had to be fully checked all over again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They sent him for blood test done at Scunthorpe. They weren't happy with it. Then they sent us to Leeds the day before.
Jesus Christ. You get sent all over the place, don't you?
Yeah, and then they checked him, and then they said they was happy with that result. So then we went home to actually prepare ourselves for going in the day after.
Wow. And what was that night before like?
The night before the transplant. So my mum and my auntie took me and Ben to Leeds, and we went on to my ward, and they told us to go as late as we could because it is the night before. They just like to settle you there. And we saw the surgeon on my ward, and it was quite late. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and Ben said to him, don't you think you should be going home to bed to get some sleep because you're doing our kidney transplant tomorrow?
Yeah.
So he was like, he was trying to keep it light-hearted, and but
wow.
yeah. So I'd wrote a letter to Ben and put it in his bag, and he didn't know.
Yeah.
And I had done a card saying, will you remarry me, with a Haribo in there.
Oh.
And apparently he just had the Haribo and didn't even read the card.
He likes his Haribos.
Yeah, but
oh, that's so sweet, Tara.
but yeah, he didn't want the letter or anything like that, but he did actually read it because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But to be fair, in my letter I had just said what we were going to do with our life afterwards, and I was going to prove to him that it was worth every second.
It's all going to work and be fine.
Yeah, because obviously we didn't have kids. We've got 2 German Shepherds at home, and they literally are my boys.
Yeah. That's awesome.
They make our little unit. They really do.
Oh, dogs and cats and animals are amazing, aren't they?
And Ben dog trains as well, and he's absolutely brilliant at it.
Yeah, Emily was saying, Adam's girlfriend was saying that she sometimes sees him with them.
Yeah.
And they're so well trained and like
Yeah,
walk
running down Lee Road with them.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
But,
So cool.
but yeah, and then after like we said our goodbyes,
Yeah.
there was an option for Ben to come and see me before he goes down. He goes to theatre first.
Yeah.
Well, he hadn't told Rachel, our coordinator, that he didn't want to see me. I wanted to see him, but he didn't want to see me. He said, I don't think I could handle it. So the night before, I actually had my last dialysis session. And through dialysis, you get really hungry because it's clearing out your stomach. It's clearing out all that waste. And I remember sitting through dialysis sessions, eating. I could eat and eat and eat, and I'm not an eater.
Yeah.
And and that night they said to me, you can't have anything to eat on this dialysis session because because you're having the operation. Well, I had a packet of fruit polos, and I thought one won't hurt if I just like eat it really, really slowly.
Oh man.
So I did, and I did.
Did they find out?
No,
they didn't know.
They probably know now.
He's got one Fruit Loop in here. What are we doing? Just told him not to eat anything.
But I had my last dialysis session on
night before.
On Thursday the 12th.
So you didn't really get a night before. You were still in the hospital.
Yeah,
really.
so then I was awake. My dialysis session finished at 3:00 in the morning. Because it is like 8 hours long.
Yeah.
And then I went back up to the ward. The next morning, obviously, Ben had told me he didn't want to see me, but our coordinator did actually bring him to me.
Really?
They brought, because obviously I was really poorly. They brought Ben to me, and he was in his gown, and the curtain was shut around me, and I just remember him coming in and he just started to roar, and I held it back. Like people looking in when they was with us must have thought that day that I was like wanting Ben's kidney, and because I was like, everything's going to be fine, but I was being the strong one.
Yeah, you're trying to be there for him.
Yeah.
Make sure it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think he was worried.
Well, you can't, no one should. I'm sure the folks who work in those wards see all sorts of types of reactions, don't they? It's hard to know what's real and what's different. Everyone's different, aren't they?
Yeah, the thing is with Ben, before all of this, he'd never been in hospital before. And before that, he'd never had anaesthetic. He'd never been put to sleep.
Wow.
And he actually asked them if they could take out the kidney while he's awake. And they said, we can't do that.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask them to do that. I'd say, can you knock me out right now, please?
Honestly, so when, after we said our byes, then that could have been our final goodbye. They took Ben down to theatre.
Yeah.
And the coordinator told me to go and have an iodine shower, so your body is literally clean for theatre.
Yeah.
I got into the shower and it must have been 20 minutes, and there was a knock on the door. So I shouted back, hello, and she was like, Tara, it's Rachel. That was it. I literally opened that door with nothing on, wet through, was like, what's the matter? What's happened? Panicking, thinking...
Something's gone wrong.
Yeah, something's gone wrong already. Well, when we heard of how they took the kidney out, they actually put a bag in, so they blow you up, and they then put a carrier bag in to take the kidney out.
Right.
It's really bizarre, but... there is an interesting documentary on BBC iPlayer called Life of a Surgeon, and there's a kidney transplant one on there.
Yeah, if you want to know about how it works, yeah.
Yeah, so you can actually go on and see all the gory bits if you want.
Oh my God.
But,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I really did panic thinking something had happened, and she told me everything had gone fine.
Really?
Yeah, Ben was in recovery, so then I was then going down. And I know,
straight away.
Yeah, I literally got put on the bed, and
because this is a bit where you went past him,
my mum was there,
Yeah.
and she sort of was upset, but I still held it together. I still was holding it together.
I don't know how.
And yeah, they took me down and took me into it's like recovery, but it's the procedure before. So they take you in before you go into theatre, just to get you ready to go into theatre. Make sure you've not got earrings in, etc. Blah blah.
Yeah.
And then they said, "Oh, Ben's in that next room," to where I was. So I said, "Can I see him before I go into theatre?"
Yeah.
That was a big mistake.
Yeah.
So basically, this is what I call a drive-by. They pushed me past Ben.
So you could see into the room through glass, was it? Or
No.
It was literally in the same room.
In the same room, past him. So he was like on a recovery ward. They pushed me past him, and I remember seeing him just sat up in the bed, like really sat up in the bed. His face was yellow.
Was he awake? Or
No,
really?
he can't remember any of that. And I just remember holding on to the side of the bed, because they put the metal like guard things up, don't they? I remember holding on to that because they literally were pushing me past it. And I just remember saying, "Is he okay? Is he okay?" And just like holding it and looking back and wanting to get out the bed.
Yeah.
And
they had to keep going.
Yeah, because Ben always did say, at that point where he had to sign that document to say what he wanted to do with the kidney if something did happen, why I didn't take it, he always said to me, "You better take this kidney, and it on your own will while you haven't received it."
Yeah. You better have it when I wake up.
Yeah, I was in floods of tears, and that just flooded in my head, and I was like, I have got to do this.
Yeah. You saw that he'd done his thing, and you thought, right, it's my turn.
Yeah, honestly, I had so much determination, it was unreal, and I think that actually helped me recover. Really? I think it helped me I am today.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, when they pushed me into the theatre room, the bed was ever so weird. So you get onto the bed. I've been through a lot of different procedures done, but I've never had a full on like operation. They laid you on this bed that had hot air blowing through it, and it was really like hot air. It was strange.
Wow.
And
so you put to sleep for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are put to sleep.
Yeah, I said to him, "Was Ben on this bed?" And I said, "Yeah," and that was it. I ended up in floods of tears all over again. But yeah, it literally is how you see it on the telly. Like, there's like people behind glass watching, and a room full of people
ready to do stuff.
Yeah,
things have to be done.
Yeah, you've got the anaesthetist there making sure that. Like, people think the anaesthetist just puts you to sleep. They don't. They're watching your level, like your oxygen levels while you're out, and making sure of your blood, that you're not losing too much blood and things like that.
Checking everything. Yeah.
Oh, everything. Yeah, and there was a room full of people.
So how long were you in the room and on that chair, on that table until you actually got put to sleep? Was it just a few minutes?
Yeah, it literally was a few minutes. Yeah, they said to me, "Count backwards from 10," and I think I get to 8 and I'm gone. But I've been put out quite a few times where Ben, they said, really fought it. He tried to stay awake.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they had to give him a double dose of the anaesthetic.
Wow. I'd probably be like that.
He was so scared, he really was, bless him. And
yeah, I'd be like that. 100%. That's so scary, isn't it? It depends who you are, doesn't it? I mean, some people find it really... Me and my mum find stuff like that just so hard. And it's just, I don't know what I'd do in that situation. You'd have to just, like I said, just knock me out now. Yeah. Just do it now while I'm not looking. Yeah. And then I woke up, which was the bizarre thing. I woke up and I said, "What's happened to me? I'm in so much pain." Oh, and I remember holding like the bottom of my stomach, and my dad was at the side of me, and he said, "You've just had the kidney transplant, don't forget." And I just remember being really hungry and eating porridge. I was eating so much porridge. That's all I really, really remember. Getting that energy. Yeah, they give you morphine straight away, and you've got this button and you press it every time you're in agony. Well, Ben, apparently, they give you it's like a big fat syringe that they put into the machine. Ben used
a whole one of them in probably an hour, they said, where I used only the tiniest bit.
Tough cookie.
Yeah, but I was in pain. But then when I did start coming around, I remember picking up my phone and actually looking at myself on
camera
on Snapchat. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, I've got colour in my face.
Wow.
It was
That's
weird.
amazing,
It was weird.
Immediately, like, started to change your body.
And I'd sent Ben a message, but he was really he was like high on morphine.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
And then the surgeon came to see me. Obviously, my kidney had gone down to like 2 or 3% at the time.
Yeah.
And he came to see me half an hour afterwards.
Yeah.
And he said to me, what do you think your kidney function is?
Yeah.
Ben had an amazing kidney function. It was above average. It was really high. It was like 121%. Wow. He was really healthy.
Better than normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, well, I was at 2%. What is it going to be after half an hour? So I took a lucky guess. I said about 30% because I'd been on Kidney Care UK Facebook page and I've read stories and people obviously only getting like a kidney function of that afterwards.
Don't get the full function.
Yeah, not
they might
straight
not
away.
Get the whole thing. Yeah.
And he said, no, you've got a kidney function of above 90.
Wow.
That was it. I was in tears.
That's straight after the operation.
30 minutes, yeah.
Wow.
And they check your output of your urine, and they said I was outputting a litre and a half from going from not going to outputting a litre and a half of urine.
Normal. They said normal bodily function.
Yeah, they went down to bed because I said to the surgeon, I'll let you go tell Ben. I didn't want to ring him and tell him. I wanted them to tell him.
Yeah.
And he was in awe. He couldn't believe it. But
that's
before
amazing.
It, both of the surgeons had come to see me before the operation and before Ben had donated. And they asked me how I was. And I said, yeah, I'm fine. Obviously, I said, I really don't want Ben to do it, but he wants to do it. And they went down to see Ben after that and said, your wife's head is in the right place. She's in a good place. But it wasn't because I wanted Ben to donate. It was because I wanted our lives back.
You wanted to be together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you both wanted, isn't it? That's the thing, is that you shared your own organs to like both carry on doing what you're doing, you know, it's lovely though, isn't it? Because like, how many people would actually do that? Like,
I can say I had 100 people tell me that they wanted to be my donor.
Really?
And then when it come down to it, I could count on the hand how many people came forward.
Really?
Yeah, and it does open your eyes who's there and who isn't.
Yeah.
But after I saw the surgeons and they said, you've got a kidney function 90%, they said me and Ben are in the top 10 successful kidney stories in the UK,
Yeah, so that had gone so well, and because of the kidney function afterwards.
Yeah, and how much I was outputting, because some people unfortunately need help after they receive a donor's kidney. Like some people need steroids, and I didn't. I just needed immune suppressants, which you're on for the rest of your life, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's you take immune suppressants, so
is that all the things you showed me earlier? Yeah,
all the medication. Yeah, that's so your body doesn't think it. Yeah, because obviously this kidney is a foreign object.
Yeah. So you need to trick your body into like saying actually you can use that.
Don't get me wrong, it's twice every day for the rest of my life, but it's given me a second chance.
Yeah.
But
so how is it now after you've had it done?
So Ben got sent home the day after, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So he went. Yeah. He were walking around like an old man. He said when they blew him up with air, he said that was the worst thing about it, because you get you get constipated, and there is some bad side effects to anaesthetic. I think everybody can relate to that.
Yeah.
But he was walking around like bent over, and when he actually went home in the car, he had to hold a pillow against his stomach.
Yeah, because of the pain.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
But I didn't come out until a week later. But in the meantime, you get given a diary, so it's a 7-day diary where every day they make you do something new. So like the first day is literally put your legs out the side of your bed, and then you get to the 4th day and you're standing up on the scales weighing yourself.
Yeah.
Well, my first day, because I was that determined, I was on day 4. I was weighing myself.
Yeah.
I honestly thought I have got to do this with, but I've got to do this to show Ben that
what he's done for me.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah.
And I am a little fighter.
Yeah, you definitely are, Tara. Yeah, it's crazy.
It never changed us though. It didn't at all.
It's just allowed you to carry on being who you are, together. That's so amazing, like.
But
it's funny how things like that make you realise. I mean, my experience is so small compared to what you've had, but like when Gemma had her tonsils out, and it was just like you were saying about Ben, like not knowing how to. It's like the pain that he feels from it as well. Like I was looking at trying to keep Gemma like happy was just really draining, like really hard to do because I wanted to cry as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think when you see your loved ones going through something so hard, like obviously I was in for 7 days and Ben was at home. That was hard for me. I kept telling the hospital I need to go home. Ben's donated and he's at home now.
Yeah, I need to be there.
And it's lucky that Ben's got a good family unit. Like his sister Becca, she came to live with us until I was home, basically.
Yeah, stay
and
with
she
him.
really did look after him. I've heard some really funny stories where she's like, literally, he kept shouting, "Becca, I need to go for a wee," and she had to, because he couldn't go upstairs and our only toilet was upstairs, so she was literally carrying him up them stairs, and I'm so grateful to her for what she did for him.
So it was kind of, he was recovering more in a way, like, because you were better and he was like recovering from it.
And I was still in hospital, and they make you do. Once you're allowed out of bed, this is something like your 5th day, because you've still got a drain in your side.
Yeah.
You're hooked up to all the drips still. And you've got a catheter in, which I kept trying to get them to take out quite quick. And once they've got rid of all that, they make you do, they call it like a lap, and it's so you're like getting stronger to walk, and and Ben surprised me, and he came to see me while I was still in, even though he was in so much pain, and Leeds is 2 hours away.
So that's the first time you've seen him for like, what was it, like 4 days or something?
Yeah, I think it was 4 or 5 days. And that was it. I was like, "Come on, let's go for a walk." And I was in my gown, because I literally just had all the drain and everything taken out. And I was in the gown, and I didn't have any clothes on underneath. I just didn't care. I just like wanted to walk with him, and just didn't bother me at all. Didn't faze me, and
that's really making me emotional. It's lovely.
But
and
so
you're all happy together now?
Yeah, and it was funny because it was around Christmas time, and Leeds had the Christmas tree up, and I just couldn't wait to get home and have the perfect Christmas with him. So when I did go home, we snuggled on the sofa, and our first film that we watched was Polar Express. And I started to cry. And it really was like the first time that I was really that emotional. And he said, "What are you crying for, you silly bugger?" And I said, "Because I didn't think I would be here this Christmas."
No, you didn't think that would ever happen again.
Yeah, and every Christmas since that, we normally go to cinema or the night flicks where they have the cinema outside, and we always watch Polar Express.
Yeah.
We always
tradition.
Yeah, and like the year after the transplant, our first, we call it kidneyversary.
Yeah.
I actually got some of the famous fishermen from, which channel is it? It's on ITV.
Right, not sure. Is it a program? It's a program.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a fishing program. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
I got them to actually send Ben a message on Facebook, which was really nice. I didn't know there was going to do them. He woke up to these messages.
Wow.
Yeah,
they did it for you. That's amazing. Isn't it?
It was. Yeah, it was really, really.
That's something
good.
he really likes watching. Then. Yeah.
Yeah, he loves fishing and.
Yeah.
And obviously when I got home and I wanted this perfect Christmas, me and Ben was actually making flat packed furniture. We made a table. And we shouldn't have been doing that. We weren't meant to be doing anything for like 3 months.
Just excited though to do things. That's amazing.
And then on Boxing Day night, well, it was early hours in the morning, Christmas Day actually, I thought, I'll go downstairs, even though I was still recovering and had stitches in my stomach. I went downstairs to prep Christmas dinner, and because we hadn't used our oven for so long, I think there must have been some foil or something at the bottom of the bottom of the oven, and I put a tin of oil in for my Yorkshire puddings, and the oven set on fire.
Oh my God.
And Hunter, my oldest German Shepherd, was sort of going
barking,
crazy to make Ben aware. And I was like, right, quickly thought, I need a wet tea towel while I put that, and it still won't go out.
Really?
Yeah, and Ben could hear the commotion, and obviously he's still recovering, and he fell downstairs.
Wow.
And I didn't care that the kitchen was like literally going on fire. I was more bothered that Ben had fallen down the stairs.
Was he okay?
So his wedding ring finger, he broke that, and then his wedding ring got stuck on. So then we had to go to A&E to get his wedding ring cut off. And because I bought him a titanium wedding ring, the cutter that they give us, they sent us home with it because they couldn't get the ring off.
Really, it was in it? The cutter was in it, sort of thing. Wow.
And he couldn't get it off.
Yeah.
And we spent hours trying to get that ring off.
Jesus.
Don't worry, I bought him another ring to replace it.
You didn't keep it with the thing on there then? But that's crazy, I didn't know that.
He said, you tried to kill me that way, you tried to kill me taking my kidney, and then you try and kill me by cooking
setting me on fire. Oh my God. But you got it put out in after that. Anyway.
We got it put out after that. But yeah, I just wanted the perfect Christmas, and don't get me wrong, we did, and it was just me and Ben and the boys, and it was just perfect.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like but like I say, I've had like a mild form of that, and when Gemma was alright, and like it just revitalises you've done it. And I suppose for you it's like your whole life, isn't it? Like you've just been given this second chance thing.
And I wasn't supposed to go back to work until like 6 months later, but after 3 months I was just like, I'm ready to go, sort of thing. My body wasn't, but my mind was.
Yeah. You wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Wow. What was it like through lockdown then?
So they said that if Ben had come forward any later, it wouldn't have happened because obviously COVID hit just after that December. I remember going to Hull Royal and my mum covering up her face saying, I think this COVID thing is going to be serious, and I was like, I don't think it is. And then it did.
Yeah.
And then we had to shield. We weren't allowed to go out.
Vulnerable because of the operations, yeah.
Yeah, at one point, at first we weren't allowed to open windows in the house or go in the garden.
Yeah.
I was happy as Larry, I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it.
Spending time with...
Yeah, spending time with Ben.
Ben
gets itchy feet. He likes to be doing stuff, and he loves...
Busy.
He loves to keep himself busy, and... Yeah, and I was like trying to find us stuff that we could do in the house, because obviously there's still certain things that we couldn't do.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I
actually
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Nice, that's great.
Yeah, I did.
There was something. I think everyone, obviously, some people's family like got ill and some people passed away, but I think a lot of people actually kind of liked the sort of the simplicity of it, didn't they? And like You just there. You're just in your home and like you spend time with the people you know really well.
Obviously, it was hard for us with coming out after COVID. I was petrified.
Yeah. Took you a long time to feel comfortable.
I think God, when did I get COVID? Actually, Christmas just gone, so it did take a long time to actually catch up with us.
Yeah.
But we try to be as safe and as what we can, and But yeah,
it's an amazing story, Tara. It's crazy. It's most people don't go through that, do they? So.
It's a pleasure to be doing this podcast with you, and
I
like to give people hope because I remember going through the kidney disease, and being on Kidney Care UK Facebook page, and I mean that is a great support unit there. That community is amazing, and Kidney Care UK have helped me, and Ben Bounds.
Yeah.
I can't be grateful enough to them for what they've done for me.
Yeah. Making sure you're okay and putting you in touch with people and things like that as well.
Yeah, I guess. And they support you while you're going through your illness. Financially, if you need anything, they are there for you.
Yeah.
The other side of it as well, I saw a girl that she had a kidney transplant, and she was swollen like me to start with, and then she posted a picture of herself like later on.
Yeah.
And I said to Ben, no, that can't be true. That really can't be true.
The improvement, like, and how you look.
And my picture's different from
it's amazing.
From being ill to now.
Yeah.
Like, it is a completely different person. Not in personality, I was always saying, but in looks wise, totally different.
Aesthetically, like, yeah.
Yeah, and I like to share my story just to give people hope out there, and that, look, keep your chin up.
It's amazing what we can do nowadays in medicine, isn't it?
Like, definitely.
You got to trust that because it's just that's the only chance you got in it. Really, you got to put your life in their hands, haven't you?
Yeah.
And
there ain't no words to describe how I feel about Ben. Don't get me wrong, I've always loved Ben, and people that do know us as a couple know that we've got a strong bond, me and Ben anyway, but for him to then go and do that and me have a part of him always
with you.
Basically
it's like double strong. It's something you can't recreate, innit? Like
it's
amazing.
And I remember going home just this last bit, going home and laying on the bed with him and seeing the kidney, because once you drink the kidney you see it like fill and it gets heavy, and I remember seeing it like just poking over my stomach and just thinking, this is amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it? How can you believe it? It's like magic.
Like when I rub him down, like that was Ben's. To be fair, Ben actually asked for them to take a picture of the kidney, but that's only for Ben. Like he's not allowed to share it on social media or anything like that. It doesn't go anywhere.
That's it. When it was out, sort of thing.
Yeah, and it is very it's very odd to see that, and I'm like looking at that thinking, then that's in me.
It's a little blob, little thing. Yeah. Oh my god, I don't think I'd want to see that. I'm all right, I think.
And I called the kidney Benny Bean.
No, little bean shaped little. They do look like kidney beans, don't they?
Yeah.
So they call them that. Yeah. It's amazing. Do you want to talk about anything else that I've got as like little fun topics to talk about, or do you want to get up?
No, whatever you want to do.
20 minutes or something. So first thing I spoke to you about, because you work at our place now.
Yeah.
At Pyramid. And do you like working here?
Yeah, I've officially become a member of your team now.
Yeah, you've been confirmed.
But
Tara, you're amazing, Tara.
I love it here. I absolutely love it here. I know I'm a little chatterbox, but
that's great. I love it. I mean, that's what I was going to say. Like, me and you were talking about documentaries that we like, and we both like the Louis Theroux and Stacey Dooley documentaries, don't we?
Yeah, that's what me and Ben do.
Yeah.
Like at night time.
Yeah.
That is what we do. Binge watch them and over and over and over again. Ben is a renowned repeat watcher.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I like to watch things multiple times because you always get something else from it as well, don't you? Like,
yeah.
What do you like about the documentaries and like the life documentaries about people?
So obviously I mentioned to do with like the BBC, and that is Life of a Surgeon.
Yeah.
Honestly, there isn't just a kidney transplant one on there, but it was actually watching that it made me realise what they do to see if your tissue and blood match. And I was like, Ben, you don't get to see that. Yeah. And it actually opens your eyes to what they do and
the skills and the processes.
It's out of this world what they actually do for people.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. I love stuff that like reveals things from behind, the stuff that you just don't know.
Behind the scenes, and I always say to Ben, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And then when you do get a look in, like I like at the minute I've just watched Stacey Dooley Sleeps Over.
Yeah, I've been watching a bit of that. Yeah,
and that's like people that come from different family backgrounds, and I do like to understand how different people live and
like the family that don't have any rules for their kids. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, and I think it educates you to have a better
broader scope
and a better attitude towards people
who are different. Well. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's important to be accepting and understand, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
That's part of this for me, really. Like just doing this, like. I'll interview anyone just if they're up for it because I just want to know what makes them happy.
When I read what your podcast was about, I was like, I wonder if Andy would want to do it with me. And then when you was like, I didn't dare ask you, I was like, I'll do it. I don't care.
You've been on my phone from the very start. Yeah, I made a list of different people, and I thought, Tara would be great. And it's I think it's proved itself. Have you watched Clarkson Farm as well?
I love that.
You watched the new series?
Yes.
I haven't watched it yet. Is it good?
Yes. Yeah. To be fair, when I knew the new series had come out, I watched the first one all over again, and I've watched that about 6 times.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? I've watched it twice, I think, now, yeah. I need to watch the new one
I just love the relationship between Jeremy and Caleb.
Yeah, it's like father and son sort of thing, isn't it?
Like comedy gold, and
yeah, it's good. It's really weird. It's like he should have always been in his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
I know. I was looking at, because obviously me and Ben like caravanning and going away. I was looking at that campsite because there's a caravan club site that.
Yeah. Diddley squat.
Yeah, he didn't know he'd done it. So I said to Ben, we could go on there.
Go and stay there, yeah.
Yeah, and then go to the farm shop or something.
Why not? It'd be fun, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Caravanning is great, actually. I used to do it a little bit when I was younger. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you like doing... You're saying you're going to get somewhere to put it permanently now so you can
Yeah, we're going... putting it at a place in Alford.
Yeah.
Just so, like, on a Friday when we finish work, we can go there for a weekend.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, we will travel. Like, I want to do Cornwall for 2 weeks next year because that's what I grew up doing as well.
Going Cornwall, yeah.
Yeah, I used to go to Cornwall for 2 weeks every year with my grandparents.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. But, different world, isn't it? It's amazing. Yeah. Like, I used to go with my dad sometimes, and it's amazing. It's so chilled out and like laid back, innit?
Like, like when you're at home and you say you're going to have a chilled weekend, you don't really, do you? Because
you do the same stuff every time.
Yeah, and when you're caravanning, you either go out or you go in the caravan and just chill out. So you haven't got no choice.
Yeah, it's nice to have the variety, innit? Because like you think like, I'll sit at home all weekend and just chill, and it's like it can be nice that, to be fair, but like it's nice to push yourself and go out because. You remember that as well, don't you? And you go, we went here this time, and it was great. Like.
Yeah, I remember my first longish walk after the kidney transplant.
Yeah.
Oh, it was I think it was probably a half an hour walk that took 4 hours for me to do, but I did it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like I've got a lot of nerve damage in my feet and in my eyes, and it is hard for me to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Like the kidney transplant has changed some stuff, like the way that I think and the way that how quickly I can do things. It's not as fast as I used to be, but
really?
I always think I can do them.
Yeah, you can still do it.
I'm here doing.
Might just take me slightly longer, but I'm still able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing them.
That's amazing. I didn't realise that. Yeah.
Yeah, it can, and sometimes I'm like, sometimes people are not aware of it.
No, well, of course they're not. That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, this is the thing that I'm realising from the podcast as well. It's just like, you think you know people until you ask them. And it's like that. I didn't know that. Even I know you've had a massive operation.
Sometimes I'm like, I can't click as fast on, or my brain don't want to react as quick as my body can, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or like I do come across like I'm really confident, and then really inside, like I'm like social situations and things like that, I'm a bit like, I'm not so sure.
Really, that's crazy. I don't understand.
If Ben like says, shall we go out with so and so, I'm like, oh, you can go, it's fine. He's like, but then when I go, I do come out my shell a little bit.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. It's tricky, that, isn't it? I think Gemma feels like that sometimes as well. Like she seems to be more up for it every year, like to go and see people and do things.
I bet when I joined the business, she thought, she's really chatty.
Yeah.
She's obviously quite, isn't she, bless her?
No, yeah, she is. Yeah, she's lovely. It's fine, isn't it? It's mad that you say that, because like, and that you're insecure about yourself because you're so good.
Yeah,
and like every time I've heard you say it, I feel really bad for you. It's like,
Ben,
don't want you to feel
Ben will
that.
tell you, I'm always panicking like, oh my god, what if this, or what if I've done that wrong, or yeah.
You don't know who wants to get stuff wrong, do they? But it's last couple of questions are both very big and broad, and you can just answer it in your own way. How important is money to you?
So this is an easy question for me. Very. I'm not a materialistic person at all. At all. I don't go out buying handbags and shoes. And Ben will tell you, I'm happy when it's just me, Ben, the boys, and I've got a bottle of Coke in the fridge.
Yeah.
He literally will. If you rang him now and said, how important is money to Tara?
Yeah, he'd know as well. He'd give you the same answer.
He'd give you the same answer, yeah.
So money's just what you need to live, and then the rest of it's all fun.
As long as we've got a roof over our heads, I always say to Ben, even if it was a cardboard box we had to live in, but as long as we've got each other, that's the main thing for me.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that's the perspective the operation's given you, I suppose, as well, isn't it?
To be fair, I have always been like that.
Down to earth sort of feel, yeah.
Yeah, like my grandparents had a big influence on me in my life growing up, and money
wasn't important.
Yeah, it wasn't important to them at all.
About spending time with each other and having fun.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with them, and and
I think that's just how it is. It's just that some people, don't necessarily feel like that. But like, I think when it comes down to it, like you say, if something goes wrong health wise or whatever, money's just like doesn't matter, does it? It's all about being with those people that you know, and we're social animals, aren't we?
Yeah, I just feel like if I lost Ben today, money won't be nothing anyway. It won't mean anything.
Yeah, that's what matters.
He is what matters to me. Me, Ben, and them boys are like my main priority. Yeah, and if I didn't have them. Like, don't get me wrong, I love coming to work, and to be fair, I love coming to work because I just love being like part of a team. It was hard for me to actually join the team, because I was like, all my life I'm meeting new people, I don't know what they'll think of me, and even though I am like easy to get on with and chatty, you still never know. You don't
know who's going to be there, do you? Yeah. I think we were all quite nice.
Yeah, you are. Love it. I love working here. I really do.
I mean, work's something you got to do in it, and if you can enjoy it as you go along, then you're all right. It's good, isn't it? Yeah. So I suppose you kind of answered this a little bit in that question, but what's the meaning of life to you, in your own thoughts?
So it is obviously my family.
Yeah.
It's more of my home unit.
people around you.
Yeah, like Ben and the boys, obviously, and then we've got Ben's sisters, so we're quite close to Gemma and Sam, and Becca especially. They're Ben's sisters.
Yeah.
Gemma and Becca both live in Gainsborough, and Sam, she lives in Fraserburgh.
Yeah.
But as soon as we all get together, it is a laugh.
Yeah.
And
spending
then
time together. Yeah.
Yeah, and then on my side, my mum was like my best friend growing up. And my auntie Elaine, which is my mum's sister, she's what I'd call my number 2.
Yeah. Wow.
Then I am close to my mum's other sister Julie as well. So
many people. Oh, that's amazing.
We have got a massive family, me and Ben, honestly.
Yeah. It's nice.
Ben's got a lot of brothers and sisters, and I've got 2 brothers.
Yeah, I've got quite a small family myself, really, but it's I love them all. But it's it's just like we're not very. Got some family I don't really see that much, but like, yeah, when you come together, it's always good, isn't it? And
yeah. I do. To be fair, like Ben lost his nana around the same time as I lost my granddad, and then the year before I lost my granddad, I lost my grandma. Really? My grandma and granddad were Mayor and Mayoress of Gainsborough.
Really?
That's a new fact for you.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how long were they together for then? Long time.
God, I couldn't even tell you. I think they got to the year after the golden wedding anniversary.
Wow.
So what is that, 50?
51, yeah.
Yeah, 51.
Yeah.
And my grandma passed away the day before their wedding anniversary, which that was really hard for my granddad. And
I bet it was, yeah.
Yeah, and I do miss them terribly.
Yeah.
I really, really do. But I'm bringing back memories, going caravanning and stuff now. So.
No, you're reliving it with Ben, though, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Tara.
No worries.
Really,
Thank you for having me.
Good to talk to. Yeah. We'll have another one maybe sometime that's just a bit more like chilled out, chat, shoot the breeze, as they say.
Yeah. I'll have to tell you about touring around the UK.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I want to do a bit of that. So. Hi there, thank you for listening to that episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It was certainly interesting for myself, and thanks to Tara for joining me on here and sharing that story, because obviously it's quite a hard thing to talk about, I suppose. But yeah, hopefully it helps other people as well. If anyone's going through any operation like this, life-threatening operation. But yeah, one thought I've recently had is, if anyone wants to send any questions in that I can ask to guests, generic questions that anyone could answer, then send them in, and maybe put them in the comments section below or something like that. Or you can just email them to me or go on my Instagram, and I'll consider them for future guests. But yeah, thanks for listening, and see you in the next one.